Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel for another round table review for Doctor Who Season 1. This week we are taking a look at Episode 6, Rogue, the Regency episode, the Bridgerton episode. I'm joined by Miles and by Pete, as ever. We might have Josh, hopefully, coming on in a moment or two as well, so look out for him. Our final standalone adventure before the big two-part finale. We were just saying, weren't we, that the series has gone by very quickly,
Very
like with it
quick.
just being 8 episodes,
Yeah.
isn't it? It kind
A
of
lot
feels
of a lot of
like
people have been saying to me that it feels like it's like kind of hit its stride only, and we've only got like now two more to go. It's like we are technically at that halfway point if it's any other series, whereas
Yeah.
yes.
in
And if
terms
it
of this
was
one we're 80%.
and if it was Flux, it would already be over as well, which is
Yeah,
weird
right
for
now.
True,
6 episodes.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't think about
yeah,
that, actually.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Like
we're
a
lucky.
classic,
We're lucky,
classic
really.
series. Yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
interesting. We'll get onto the finale and stuff later on, and all that lovely stuff, I suppose. But yeah, Rogue. So this one, who watched it at midnight? I watched it at midnight. Anybody else? Pete?
I did.
I enjoyed
Josh
it
on
on the
Saturday
cereal the
nights.
next
Yeah,
morning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday morning. Okay.
Well, which was weird though, because it was a very bright sunny day,
Oh
and I
yeah.
kind of had to close the curtains because it's quite a kind of a Regency episode is quite a it's sort of
Atmospheric.
dark colours. So yeah, so I felt like it did feel weird. I have to
Yeah, it
admit,
was all
but yeah.
sat at night, wasn't it? I suppose all sat, and I just sat at that estate over the course of one night, wasn't it? And all that kind of stuff. So I think, in a nutshell, I mean, obviously, fat people already have heard my thoughts on the channel. They might have heard Miles's on the Knowing Who podcast. Maybe Pete, could you kick us off with a little summary of some
pressure's on.
thoughts? The pressure's on. You've done
Um,
outros, now doing an intro, yeah.
Yeah, so I've done. I've only watched it once actually. So I've been so busy with other stuff that I've not had a chance to rewatch it. So this is very raw opinions. But really enjoyed it. I watched it at our friend Charlie's house, which was
Oh, of
nice.
course, yes, yeah.
He'd gone up to bed. He was too tired, so I watched it on his
Oh, really?
Weakling.
on his sofa at midnight.
Yeah.
And enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Probably don't, possibly my favourite of the series so far. Um,
Okay.
Possibly. I mean, I probably need to rewatch it to fully get my opinions on that. But thought the music was very good. Thought it felt like a very traditional Doctor Who episode with the monsters. Nice having the period setting as well. I don't think we have had the Beatles episode, haven't we? But we haven't had many past episodes off the top of my head recently. So yeah, enjoyed it. Thought it was good. Good, well worth a watch.
Worth the watch.
Yeah, would recommend
Oscar on
it.
the
There we go.
poster.
Yeah, yeah.
What about you?
No,
Nice.
yeah, well, I would say similar, really. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good fun. I think as I was watching it, what struck me was it was okay. Yeah, it was kind of conventional in the one sense. It was kind of unconventional, also. I think in the way that it just focused very much on the Doctor and obviously Rogue as well, and the romance, a kind of blossoming relationship, friendship there, whatever, and it turns into a relationship, I suppose. And that felt quite unusual to just kind of, or at least in terms of recent years and recent stories, to actually just focus on something like that so much, rather than particularly like developing any other plot or anything. The plot kind of took a bit of a backseat to that. It was very much just about these two characters meeting and like I say, the relationship developing, and it was nice to have the time to do that, and different scenes of them in different places, and him taking Rogue back to the TARDIS, and because I've seen people say as well, like with that, like the TARDIS set that we've obviously had since the 60th specials, we haven't really seen it much this season. There hasn't been a lot of kind of returning to the TARDIS during a story, or even like the beginning or an end. I'd have to go back and check, but like obviously it wasn't in Boom, apart from the weird like VR screen thing. It wasn't in 73 Yards, wasn't in Dot and Bubble.
True.
I don't know whether that's a record or like approaching a record for the number of stories where you haven't seen or hadn't had any scenes set inside the TARDIS. But yeah, so it was nice from that point of view as well, and to see the different lights and stuff they had going
It
on.
looked
there,
really
and so
nice
sharp
as well,
the
didn't
set.
it?
Yeah.
The orange. I think it
Yeah,
was like
that was
one of the best
really really
lighting states
nice.
we've seen so
Just
far.
refreshing to see that again, and yeah, just refreshing overall. Like I say, to spend so much time on something like a character kind of piece like that, and focusing on the Doctor as well. And I'd probably say as well, like I don't know, like obviously it's the first Doctor romance we've had in a good while. Like the first time he's been kissed or kissed someone since Missy in Dark Water, and
What
so
about Yaz?
that was interesting. And
Or did they not
On
kiss?
screen.
well, off on screen, on screen,
Right.
yeah, on screen. But
Did
yeah,
they not
that
kiss on the
was
beach? Was there not a beach scene where
no,
they were
No,
kissing?
they
No.
didn't.
unless
So,
there's
yeah, that
a
was her
deleted
dumping
scene
her
or a,
basically.
All right.
yeah, in hindsight,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm the biggest fan of romances like that with the Doctor necessarily, but I thought here it kind of it caught me off guard. It was really nicely done, and the way it was character led, I think the way it kind of allowed us to focus on the Doctor as a character and the parallels between him and Rogue and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, pleasantly surprised by that. Pleasantly surprised overall. I think the vibe was nice. You know, the Chulder or whatever they're called, the bird people were great fun, and
Cosplaying
it was all
birds.
very
Yeah.
camp. The cosplay, I loved how that came into it as well. It felt very much like it was written by fans, not just of Doctor Who, but like of stuff in general. Because Kate and Brian, I'm sure they're like fans of all the Marvel things and everything and sci-fi. So it felt like very much written by fans for fans. Very very nice indeed.
Yeah.
But Miles, what
Yeah.
about you?
Well, as you remember last week when we were sort of
Mm.
chatting about it, I kind of said this was my one that was like least anticipated of the series. Like I wasn't really, um, not that I wasn't looking forward to it, just that in my mind, I thought, oh, it just seems very surface level, Bridgerton pastiche, and that's kind of it. So obviously, coming out of it, I was really pleasantly surprised, because there was more to it than that. Great cast, Indira Varma. Is it Indira Varma?
I
Um,
believe so. Yeah.
in particular, as the Duchess, was
Mm.
just fantastic. Um, yeah, it was just great. It was just a really good, in my opinion, like solid story. I kind of think this would have been a great season opener almost, a great mission
Yeah.
statement.
Okay.
A lot
Interesting.
of people have kind of reacted to it very positively. So I think this would have been a good one to kind of start on. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Great all round, really. And as we said before we started recording, a great piece for Ncuti as the Doctor, and very much written for his Doctor. And you can't put any other Doctor in that situation. You'd have to
Mm.
change so many elements of the story and of the plot. It's very much his Doctor, and I like that a lot. I think it kind of shows that we've got his Doctor down now, and it's
Mm.
just a shame that we've only got 2 episodes left of the series, and then we're gonna have to wait another few months. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. So yeah, no, top marks all around, really.
Well worth a watch.
Enjoyed it.
Well,
Worth a watch. Well, worth a watch.
review over that. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Done.
mean, we were sort of saying, weren't we, that about Shooty and this Doctor now. I mean, in terms of having arrived and properly being fully formed now, like, I think I very much kind of got that from the end of Dot and Bubble, I think, as well, and the combination of that and then this whole episode as well, focusing on him so much. I think, yeah, it really consolidated him.
Do you
I
think it was a
suppose
bit odd having him in it so much after the last 2 weeks? Because to me, it felt like, whoa, the Doctor's back, and it kind of felt a bit odd having the Doctor in
it
it.
was a
So,
contrast, wasn't it? Yeah, certainly.
They
I
could have
guess
spaced out those two, Dot and Bubble
the
and
two
73
Doctor
yards,
Light
couldn't they,
ones.
really?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because yeah, you're right. It did feel like, oh my God, this is we're back
yeah,
to
it's
Oh yeah,
normal
he's
interesting,
kind
isn't
of
still in
it?
it.
pace.
Mm.
Yeah.
He's still
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, and Millie kind of took a
yeah.
bit of a backseat this week as well.
Mm.
Although not as much as people I think some people are saying, oh, she had nothing to do. I don't think that's true. I think that she did have a fair amount of plot, but inevitably, given that she kind of carried 73 yards and was still quite prominent in Dot and Bubble, just as
Mm.
much as the Doctor at least. I guess it's kind of, as much as it's a shock to see Shooty's doing so much more, it's kind of a shock to see her doing any less because we're so used to her being our lead for the past 2 weeks. But she was still great with what she did. And I think she really played off Emily really well, because Emily was kind of your very stereotypical, Bridgerton character almost,
Hmm.
and the way that Ruby reacted to her just it worked. It worked so well. It's that modern sensibilities with the kind of the old fashioned temperaments. Particularly loved a bit when Emily says, "Oh, I'll just hope for a nice man who I can, stay at home with and then hopefully die at the same time later in life." And Ruby's like, "Oh, lovely."
Yeah.
So yeah, no, love her. I mean, you were saying, Pete, that you've grown to love Millie's performance a lot more over the series. Is that right?
Yeah, so I definitely struggled with her in the Christmas one, and I think for the first two or three of this series, I wasn't kind of that taken with her. But I think since 73 yards, she's been brilliant. I think, given that she's had more time to shine, more stuff to do. She wasn't in Dot and Bubble that much, I suppose, was she? But
I think she
she's
was in it just as much as the Doctor.
yeah,
But it was
Yeah, I'd
still,
probably
quite
say
a
so. Yeah,
but
but not
still, yeah,
not much
yeah,
yeah.
overall. Yeah,
not a
yeah.
huge amount.
Mhm.
And then yeah, this week I thought she was excellent as well, very good. And I feel like the
Yeah,
setting gave her something to do as well. It was good.
yeah,
Yeah. No, that reminded me as well. Talking about her and Emily, what wasn't it? Yeah, and there was some nice plotting in this. I thought, and nice of setup of things. Obviously, the big one, I suppose, being the sidekick earrings. I think that's what they were called, wasn't it? How obviously they're set up at the start, and they come back into it towards the end, where we get this
Chekhov's
Poker
earrings.
face.
Chekhov's earrings, where we get this reveal about how Ruby escaped, and no, she's not been taken over after all. That kind of second moment, I suppose, in this series where it's been like, oh my god, have they killed her off? Have they gone and done that? And I suppose this close to the finale as well, like
Yeah,
you kind of almost you do sort of believe that. It kind of that whole thing felt kind of reminiscent, I suppose, of and the whole predicament they find themselves in at the end felt reminiscent of something like Face the Raven, where this fate is kind of locked in, and you've got this whole thing with the Triform, I think it is, locked in, and like you have to have a certain number of people in there or whatever it is, and obviously Rogue switches himself out for Ruby. Yes, I liked that, and the stakes and stuff there. And yeah, the way that was set up, the way you had things like little things as well, like Emily learning the word okay, and then like in the later scene, she's like, "Oh yeah, I know what the word okay means. I know that one." Things like that.
yeah.
I think there was another one as well. If I remember it, I'll mention it. But yeah, that was nice, I thought, and like I say, that the whole way the cosplay stuff came into it as well. I can see why I think some people have sort of found it a bit weird that the show is being so yeah, kind of aware of itself in that sense, kind of using that terminology and stuff. I suppose it's the first use of the word cosplay or any of those kind of ideas in the show. I
But
think
it's
things
just
like
like kind of the word selfie popping up in the Capaldi era. Like it's just
yeah,
that's just become part of our lexicon now. And
hmm,
I guess cosplay is just people know what that is now, don't they, really? So it
yeah.
does feel a bit weird initially, but you know.
I think yeah, I think overall it worked and it was nice. And it kind of reminded me as well if Josh ever gets on here today, like what he was
I
discussing
think
last
he's just
time.
said that he's updating his laptop,
Oh,
so
is he? We'll
we'll
see. But
see.
speaking on his behalf, one of the theories that he put forward last time about this
I
story
was gonna
was
say,
was
yeah.
how the whole thing could be like a Voyage of the Damned, Titanic, or Orient Express type thing of where it's not actually a period
Staging
location,
it,
but
yeah.
it's like a
Yeah.
restaging by aliens and stuff. And obviously, it wasn't quite that, but when
But
we had all the cosplay stuff that they played
yeah,
into that, it very much kind of reminded me of that idea. And I was like, oh yeah, yeah,
down to the point
fair
where
play
they
to Josh for
they
getting that.
engineer
Yeah,
like season finale as well, don't they? And the
yes,
whole the wedding thing
yes,
is
the
their
wedding.
kind
Mm,
of big finale to the
mm,
whole event. Yeah.
It
yeah.
also felt very similar to the Day of the Doctor. I think was it the day, the anniversary one where the Zygons are in it because
Oh yeah,
she pretends to be a Zygon, doesn't she? But she's not a Zygon,
with Queen Elizabeth.
and
Yes,
that's a little bit
yeah,
like Ruby
Oh
in
yeah.
this
It
one.
is.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
So I just feel like that
yeah.
we've kind of had that a little bit before. It was kind of nice to have the twist, but I also felt like it has been done before.
And also
Um,
the slight
Yes.
cheating as well of it because like you get that shot of the lightning going on and the scream when do you think she's been killed, and also when she walks into the room. the neck twitches, you hear the same sound effects as the
Hmm.
other shoulder have
Yeah.
had. So it does
Yeah,
throw
yeah.
you off as an audience member, which makes sense because how else are you going to try and convince your audience that that's happened? But also,
Yeah.
it's a bit like, is that not, is that slightly cheating?
The
I don't
cheat,
know.
isn't it? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, in retrospect, yeah, but still had me convinced. It
What did
just,
you think about the romance between Rogue and the Doctor? Because I felt like it was good, but I think it was a little bit too quick. And I would probably say the same thing about Madame de Pompadour in Girl in the Fireplace. I think
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
in 45 minutes to have a whole romance set up and for you to really feel it at the end, that person leaving or dying or whatever, is
Mm.
really tricky. And I just think, as much as I enjoyed the episode and I enjoyed those two kind of bouncing off each other, I did feel like halfway through I thought they're way too familiar with each other and they know each other. I don't know. It didn't quite land for
I
me.
I think you're right. I agree as well. But then I think about it through the lens of a bit like how the Doctor and Ruby have become so close so quickly in the first
Yeah, but
episode.
they've had
And I
six
kind of
months to
said
big finish box sets.
true. But I kind of said that it's a bit like, when you meet someone on a night out and then suddenly you're best mates because
Yeah,
that's all that matters in that. And it's kind of the same thing here, I guess. It's like Shooty's Doctor is that kind of person who would just, you know,
just
it's
having a
just,
one night stand.
or it's sort of, but then that, I don't know if that kind of cheapens it, but you know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah, yeah.
who cares? Because in this moment, nothing matters and we can fall in love. I guess that's what they're going for.
So Miles, do you think Rogue's going to come back? Also, Josh is here.
Yes, I have just appeared now. Like
Rogue isn't
Richie
coming back,
Grant,
but
I am
Josh
now
has.
face.
Yeah.
Alex.
I do think he'll come back because
Yeah.
Jonathan Groff seems to love the production so much.
I think so.
Probably get a
too.
chance to see Beyonce
Yeah.
again, so yeah, he'll love it. I reckon he'll come back whenever.
I
But
reckon
it's just a matter of
they could
when.
even have filmed something already, to be honest, because obviously they've filmed all of season 2.
Yeah,
And I think some people have said, "Oh, maybe he'll come back in season 3." I reckon they could have done something already. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's too ambitious or whatever, or too not practical enough. But
I suppose if it was in the studio,
I wouldn't
they
be
could have-
surprised.
exactly.
Yeah,
If it's
I
studio
wouldn't be
based, then
surprised
they will
at
kept
all,
it.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to see something. I'd like to have, because it's been a while since we've had like a Captain Jack or River Song style recurring character like that. I think it felt from this that he could potentially be that, or kind of turn into that type of character from the way he was established and written and performed and everything. So that was, yeah, it's cool.
Josh, what did you
Um,
think of the
Josh,
episode?
yeah.
Well, firstly, I was going to say, I don't know if he will come back because I always saw this relationship between the Doctor and Rogue as similar to the Doctor and Renette in Go in
Okay.
the Fireplace. I feel like it's more of a tragic romance where you only see him once and never again.
Oh,
But I
interesting.
may be wrong
Yeah,
on that. But I really liked this
yeah.
episode. I think it's another hit for me. Had a lot of fun with it. I think the characterization of Shooty in this as well was really fun. There were some really good moments, like between him and Rogue, partly because they were flirting with each other the whole episode, but just the dynamic and the way he was written, I thought was very, very fun. Like, oh, it's behind a tree, stuff like that was fantastic. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. But it was actual Regency era England, so we were wrong.
It was what we
Yeah.
were just saying before you arrived. I think there was some kind of truth to your theory, like the whole thing with the cosplay and the whole thing about performing and dressing up and stuff. Well, as I was watching
Yeah,
that, I was kind of reminded of that. So yeah, I might have been totally spot on, but I think you're kind of on something there.
I was
Yeah,
on the right line. Thank
on the
you.
right lines. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Should we maybe talk about the thing I'd completely forgotten about that was in this episode, the Schalke Doctor or Curse of Fatal Death Doctor or whoever he is, the Richard Grant Doctor, the face
Or
that we
more
saw in that
importantly
sequence.
than even that,
Yeah,
the John Pertwee from Dimensions in Time, which I think is
yeah.
just baffling. I mean, that's insane. That's
It's
more
crazy,
insane
isn't
to
it?
me.
Yeah.
They were like,
I
"We've
think
got all
I've
this
seen
wealth
people.
of John Pertwee material, and
Mm.
we're going to pick this grainy picture of him saying, 'What year is this?'"
Because we've heard, yeah, obviously we've heard that Richard Grant apparently came in to do a new photo shoot or something for this, which is crazy to think about. I think I've seen a tweet as well from people saying, "Oh, like apparently nobody's actually identified all of the source material for them yet, and people have been saying, "Oh, like, come on, Doctor Who fans, like, you should have done this by now. You should have identified all, oh, this is from the next Doctor, and this is from whichever episode." Because they kind of looked a bit shonky, didn't they? The kind of the heads. It was a bit weird.
Because of
as you were just saying,
it looked like they made like a 3D model and they sort of mapped a 2D image onto
Dimensions
that.
in time.
Yeah, but literally,
yeah.
It's literally dimensions in time.
Pickled in time. Like,
yeah, I guess it was that 3D thing, wasn't it? Yeah, because they're.
I'll be honest, that could have been what Ncuti said as well, because I still have no idea what he said. I was too busy looking at the heads. So Ncuti might have been stood there looking at them, pickled in time, like gherkins in a jar.
As I was watching it as well, I got
AI.
Yeah.
It looked like AI, didn't it? Almost.
Yeah, like the Ncuti scan in particular, and some of them, yeah. Because I was going to say, like, as I was watching it, I didn't actually. I think I clocked, oh, like Jodie's there, and she looks quite distinctive, and obviously Ncuti, and we'd seen David Tennant, and then kind of after that, because there were so many heads just kind of coming around, and like because I looked a bit weird, and they were like light blue and holograms. I didn't even register. Like I was kind of like, oh yeah, I assume they're all there. So I didn't actually pick up on the Richard Grant thing until I saw it on Twitter afterwards. Didn't clock that. I think because they just literally just looked so kind of unrecognizable, like all the faces. It kind of became like a blur, like of a carousel
Pat
of
Troughton,
just random faces.
Pat Troughton got like a corner of his head in it, like barely anything, whereas Richard E. Grant gets that massive,
and they were in like a random order as well, weren't they? It was all a bit. It's a bit weird. I didn't dislike it, but I don't know. It was a bit of a weird one.
So is Schalke canon now? Is the question.
It's always been canon.
I've never seen it. Am I the only one who hasn't seen it?
I seen it a long time ago. I can barely remember.
I watched on the DVD. It was a bit of a slog. It quite padded out and quite long, and I guess because it was originally designed to be like a webcast or whatever, wasn't it? But it maybe hasn't aged so well. I don't know. It was a weird one. But yeah,
I'm always surprised that the Big Finish haven't touched that Doctor.
Well,
yeah, maybe he
wouldn't.
Maybe he just wouldn't.
He'll be doing it soon.
Well, he will be now. Yeah,
when it comes to it, yeah. I mean, how do we rationalise that, or do we just not rationalise the fact that his face we don't. Just like to hell with it now. Like you can have whatever you want, and it's just.
It doesn't bother me as much as some people have been bothered by it. I think it's just a nice little Easter egg. It got us excited, and that's kind of it. And also the fact that they were out of order was kind of nice because it was like it could be any time, any place, Yeah, but it's allowed us to make theories as well. I like the great intelligence theories. I like the bi-generation theories, and I think that's what's fun about it. But yeah, it's a bit like the timeless child stuff. Like it's just water off a duck's back.
Yeah, exactly.
It is what it is.
I do think it's a bit of a shame though, and I said this to Charlie after he'd watched it. It was a bit of a shame that the full 50-minute episode, and the one thing that everyone's talking about is like a 2-second thing on screen. In a way, I feel like I wish they hadn't done it because it's like that's the only thing we've been talking about, and there's so much more to the episode than a Schalke Doctor being on screen for 2 seconds. But
definitely, because I didn't see Rogue when it came out. Because Friday night I actually spent Friday night at the bar and got very drunk, and I got home and I thought,
that's right.
No, I'm gonna.
You were living out the plot of Rogue, yeah.
Exactly,
you were cosplaying as Rogue, yeah.
I was doing the immersive experience.
Yes, yeah.
And then the next day I was really busy, and then later that day it was a friend of mine's birthday party that I went to. And I said to my friends there, some of them had seen the episode. I was like, don't tell me what's happened. I haven't seen it yet. And they said, well, there is one thing in the middle of the episode, Josh, and you will be shocked because it changes the canon of the show. And I had an inkling. Is it to do with the faces, the lineup of faces? And they went, no. So I knew it was something about that. But I thought, because, they said that they added a face. I thought it was going to be Peter Cushing. I thought, have they finally done it? Because I know that Moffat wanted to canonize Peter Cushing in Day of the Doctor, and they couldn't get the rights for like the images and that. So I thought, is it Peter Cushing? And then I saw Richard E. Grant, and I was like, oh.
It is a bit like that, isn't it? It's a bit like
Yeah.
of all the doctors you could have canonized. It's
Yeah.
like, interesting, interesting
It was a
choice.
strange one because I'd seen as well beforehand. People, I mean, obviously, people saw that shot from that scene in the trailer with the Tenet hologram, and they went crazy over that. And then in the reviews and stuff last week, people were saying, "Oh, this scene's gonna send Doctor Who fans crazy," and like you say, like change canon forever and stuff. I think I did, yeah, maybe felt a little bit kind of underwhelmed, perhaps, or just kind of like, "Oh, okay, like this is random." Yeah, I mean, it's one of those weird things. Because there's a link as well, isn't there? Like, I haven't watched any of the Marvel stuff, but isn't there like a thing where Richard E. Grant appeared in one of those shows as well? That was also
As an
like, low key
alternate
by
Loki, yeah.
yeah. So I get then because of Kate Herron as well as like a link there. So maybe it was just like a little indulgent thing on her part or production team's part. Or I don't know.
Maybe.
It's funny. It's yeah. It is what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
on that bombshell, I'm just gonna have to disappear through a triform into my incinerator. So thank you
Yeah.
all. Find me,
Find me.
and I will.
I'll find you at the prom.
Find
Find
me.
you, Miles.
Ah!
Oh, brilliant.
I actually can't stay on too much longer either because my
Yes.
food's in the oven. So
Food is important. And that well, let's just move on to perhaps some predictions for the finale. And if you have to go, just yeah, go and have your food. But Legend of Ruby Sunday, part one of the finale. Obviously, we had Susan Twist making a very brief, kind of understated appearance in this story. Obviously, this is now the point at which she comes to the fore. We've got all these returning characters: Mel, Rose, Kate, whatever, Colonel Ibrahim, whatever he's called, and all these rumors going around. Perhaps Pete, if you're maybe pushed for time, any predictions to throw into the ring straight away for the finale?
well, I
Any
was just going to
thoughts?
say this, not really a prediction, but I was going to say I think since the last recording we did, I mean I wasn't really on the last recording that much, but since the last
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
they've announced the Tales from the TARDIS thing, haven't they? Is that within the last week they've
Yes.
announced that? I'm sure you've done a video about it. You did videos about everything, so I'm sure that all the viewers will know about this. But some special Tales from the TARDIS thing, which is quite intriguing because it's in between part 1 and 2, isn't it, as well? So
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that Ncuti ends up in the memory TARDIS by the cliffhanger, I'm guessing, or something to do with that.
Yeah, I think so.
I think I know it's unlikely, but I'm still wondering whether there's something going on with Sean Pertwee. I know it was only an IMDb credit and anybody can change them, but I'm still wondering if there's something to do with him in it.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule that out. Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
I think there was a listing when they had the listings at first for the finale in cinemas. I think one cinema did list it with Sean Pertwee in the credits, so maybe.
Okay, that could be, unless they got that information from IMDb.
Because there's
True.
a synopsis that's gone out recently for that Tales of the TARDIS, which says, "Oh, it's just the Doctor and Ruby reflecting on their recent adventures," which I think yeah, that's a cover-up thing. I think it is totally like a classic story, you know, in the style of the other episodes we saw last year. Do we have any theories for what story that could be? Maybe.
Ooh.
So I think that there
If it
will be
is
some
that.
connection with Pyramids of Mars. Now I'm not sure if it's necessarily going to be Sutek. I mean, I know it's like Sutek. It could be Sutek. It could be, but I think it's just one of his race or one of some connection to it.
Like a
without it
sister or
being-
something, or yeah.
Yeah, and I know there's been
relation,
like
maybe, or-
there's been pictures, hasn't there, of like the pyramids in the background on one of the shots.
yeah, that kind of
Um,
demon style
the pyramids in the
persona that she
background.
has. Yeah, the pyramids.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if we get some connection to that. Looking forward to Mel being back. I know that next week was my most anticipated one when I predicted it right at the start, so I'm hoping it'll live up to that. I'm just looking forward to a good cliffhanger, to be honest, because for me, Doctor Who's all about the cliffhangers, and I think the one thing, as much as I've enjoyed watching this series week in, week out, the one thing that's been lacking is cliffhangers, and I feel like 45 minutes is just way too quick to do an episode, and a lot of them have felt quite rushed, and the resolutions have felt quite rushed. So I'm hoping that with 2 episodes, it'll be a bit more spaced out, a bit more stuff in. Although having said that, there's probably still a lot to cram into it. And I know there's like certain bits in the trailer, like the Doctor with his monk cowl on, which
Yes.
nobody knows how that fits into it. So
Yeah.
that's probably going to be another scene somewhere that slots in that we don't know how that goes in. So there's going to be more to it, I think, than we've only seen the unit bits, which is probably like the first scene or first few scenes. So it'll be interesting to see what the rest of it is as well. And part two.
Totally. Yeah.
Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble, but yeah.
No,
No,
it's all...
No, it's fine.
Josh, any predictions? Any thoughts?
I don't know if I've got any sort of strong predictions. I think you guys are right in terms of the way that the Tale of TARDIS is going to go. It's going to be a classic story. I imagine that in the episode this Saturday, a returning monster from the classic era will turn up, and then it will be like, oh, if you want to see where this monster originates, we're going to talk about it in Tales of the TARDIS, capture all the viewers up to speed for the finale. What that monster is, I have no idea, but Russell has said that there are links to the Pertwee era, so maybe a Pertwee monster.
Imagine if it's Bok. Imagine if Bok's back.
Yeah. Is there something you're not telling us, Pete?
I feel like that's not out of the realms of possibility.
Yeah,
in fact, maybe you were filming. Maybe they used your outfit.
Yeah. Maybe I signed an
Who
NDA.
knows, Maybe. Who would be able to know? Yeah. Who
If we get to the end of The Legend of Ruby Sunday and it comes up with the credits at the end,
The Bok, Pete
Bok.
Adamson.
Pete Adamson, I will be amazed.
On the cinema as well. Nobody needs to see that on a cinema screen.
Big screen.
No.
You pull your
amazing.
mask off. It's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. On that wonderful image,
On
which I'm
that
sure you're all
bombshell, yeah.
enjoying, I'm gonna leave. So bye. But I'm hopefully gonna watch this video back so I can hear Richard's and Josh's predictions. So I look forward to hearing them. But goodbye.
Awesome.
Find him.
Bye.
Find
We'll
me.
find you.
Yeah. Bye.
I feel like I've got to do a really good prediction now because Pete's promised he's going to watch it back. I mean, in the Radio Times, Russell has listed those episodes you should watch. And I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look at the actual issue. I paused it in W.H. Smith's earlier.
Yeah,
and
that one.
Through. And
so from memory, was it Spearhead?
Spearhead from Space.
The series on finale.
Yep.
And Good Man Goes to War was in there somewhere.
Good Man Goes to War.
Church
Bells
from
of
the
St.
Road was
John.
the last one. And Bells of St. John, that was it, wasn't it?
And Church from the Road. And the reasoning behind Spearhead from Space was mainly just because of like Unit being reintroduced. That's what he said, and Unit's going to be in the finale. But I wonder if there's something more to it than that.
Okay.
Ideally, I don't know. I'd say, in terms of Spearhead, the only thing you can bring back is probably the Autons. And he did Autons as his opener in Series 1, maybe Season 1 finale. He brings it back full circle. You have Autons.
Okay, yeah, full circle moment. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another story you could have referenced. But I'm not really sure. Have you got any predictions? I'm just looking forward to finding out what's going on with Susan Twist.
Susan Twist and Ruby. See, I still think, I did a video about this the other day, but I still think she's probably Ruby's mum. And then if she is also something to do with a god, maybe Sutek or whatever, with the whole Susan Tech thing, then that could be like a double whammy reveal, because you not only find out that Ruby's mum has been there all along, but then by virtue of that, you find out that Ruby is also like related to Sutek or a god or something, so it kind of hits harder. I'm thinking something along those lines. I'm very, very intrigued. And even in that Radio Times just today, like Russell has been saying things about like how shocking it is, the identity of her biological mother and all this stuff. And he mentions as well, I don't know if you've seen the article, he mentions the thing that people have sort of speculated about, the TARDIS, something being up with the TARDIS. He's kind of confirmed that there is something going on with the TARDIS and that it's been groaning throughout the series, and that hasn't just been like a random thing. It's apparently heading somewhere as well. There's lots of stuff like that. Like that image, I don't know if you've seen like the image of Mrs. Flood, like at Cherry's bedside as well. Apparently there's going to be like something going on there, which intrigues me as well. Yeah, I'm just hoping it delivers. I'm hoping. See, I think if it was something along those lines that we've discussed, that'd be quite nice. But also, I kind of hope it's just something completely like left field that nobody has thought of. I don't know really. Yeah, it's
whole idea
very,
of
very exciting.
the whole idea of Susan Twist and her Susan Triad character being Ruby's mum and her being a god would make sense
Hmm.
because I guess that would explain why Ruby has the ability to make snow appear out of nowhere. But
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that Russell did say that the monsters for the story will make you scream. So maybe it is something that will shock us because, but I feel like
Hmm.
if it was revealed that Susan Triad was Ruby's mum, it's something that we would have expected. Similarly with Mrs. Flood.
I guess, although I think it could still they could still pull that off as a twist for like casual viewers who haven't necessarily been following the Susan Twist thing. I think it would still hit enough for people like that, even though like
Mhm,
yeah, obviously fans we've been very aware of it since pretty much since the start.
mhm.
Um, yeah, it's interesting with the monsters as well. I think I'm expecting because there's been talk about monsters and, like you say, scary, like terrifying monsters. And there's an interview in SFX where Ncuti talks about like fighting the greatest enemy of his life in the finale, and it's operated by little green men, like the little in the green suits and everything. So that
Oh,
intrigues me
okay.
as well. I kind of think maybe is there going to be like some big villain, like some big boss villain, and also some like foot soldiers. Maybe that'd be quite nice.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm intrigued about the visuals there. Like, what are they going to look like? What are they going to be? Is it going to be
Mhm.
a redesigned foe from the past? If it was something like Sutek, I can kind of see it being like not necessarily like with the mummies and everything. Maybe like in like different type of foot soldiers or different. I think they'd probably keep the design of something like Sutek himself the same, but I can see them kind of like updating all the stuff around. A bit like with the Great Intelligence and how the Intelligent had like the Spoonheads or the Whispermen or the Snowmen rather than the Yetis when he returned. Something like that, I think maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Could it
It's
be instead of Sutek, and it was referenced in the giggle, it could be the gods of Ragnarok from the Seventh Doctor era, from Greater Shona
that's
Galaxy. They
true.
might
Yeah,
make a reappearance.
yeah.
Um, I don't know who the monster will be, but that's the exciting thing.
Hmm.
And I don't have any predictions of how this will go. I'm completely in the dark, and that's kind of how I want to be. I've stayed away from spoilers like the whole time as well, because I know that there were leaks for like Dot and Bubble like, a couple of weeks ago as well, and I
Yeah.
stayed clear
Hmm.
of that. I think after the 60th, because you always go into leaks thinking this might not be true, and then after the 60th ones turn out to be completely bang on the money, like half a year before it even aired. I've stayed completely clear of all of it, so I'm just excited to
Hmm.
see what happens.
Yeah.
Um, and Russell
I
did
think
say
they
that we
have
will
managed to
get
keep
some
it under
answers.
wraps as well. I don't think there have been any leaks, or certainly not to the extent of like the 60th ones, where it's literally got the whole plot listed on Reddit or something. I
Yeah,
think that
that's
they have managed
awful.
to, so far, touch wood, they managed to kind of avoid something like that again. So
Yeah,
that's good. Mm.
yeah. But I'm excited to see what happens. And because I wasn't here earlier, I will just quickly say that Rogue, I thought was a fantastic episode as well. I think that uh, to not to be the title sequence person again, but
All
I
right.
think that I would have been happy if they didn't do the normal Doctor Who type title sequence and
Oh,
did
okay.
like a maybe a Bridgerton inspired one. Because what
Interesting.
I loved about um this episode was the way that it started with the Doctor and Ruby already in the location. It felt very Big Finishy in a way, very
It's an
sort of 8 and
interesting
Charlie.
choice, wasn't it? Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and you don't follow them. You don't follow the Doctor and the companion from their
No,
world into
no.
this world. They're already immersed in it. You
Mm.
find them already immersed in this new setting. They've already got the costumes on. They've been here for we don't know how long. So I think similarly to 73 yards, they probably missed a trick there by not having a title sequence. I'm very tired. I've been on the train for the past couple of hours, but
Yeah.
I really liked Rogue. I really liked as well. I said this before, but how defined the genre hopping has been um,
Mm.
this year. Like they have been so different, not just in like the stories, but in the style and the way it looks. Granted, there is perhaps a lack of diversity in the writers' pool, which hopefully we'll see more writers next year. But every episode does feel completely different. It's the kind of thing that back in sort of series 7A, when Stephen Moffat was like, oh, they're blockbuster episodes, they're all big movies and they're all completely different. It actually does feel like that this time around, because it didn't really feel like that with series 7A, but with this, they genuinely feel like high budget folk horror films, Bridgerton film,
no, you're right.
you know, Black Mirror movie.
Yeah.
It feels like blockbusters, and I've really enjoyed that about this season.
I've certainly had that that kind of feeling as we've, I suppose, like a mid-series feeling maybe or whatever, like as we've had these past few episodes in particular where, but you say that there's so much range and variation from week to week, and it does very much feel like something out of like 2007 maybe, or like one of those seasons, or like the complete history books. Kind of feels like the type of thing you might see in one of those from like the original Russell era, where you have like 3 very different stories that look and feel very, very different. Which it's been a nice feeling. As much as I suppose people have been saying, with having 2 Doctor Light episodes in a row, that's maybe a bit of a misjudgment perhaps. As much as that is valid, it's been very nice to have them feeling and looking different in terms of the style and the genre and stuff, and all the trappings of all that. Yeah, it's been cool, hasn't it?
I understand that criticism of the back-to-back Doctor Light episodes, but I think the difference between something like Love and Monsters and Blink is that they're not really big episodes for the Doctor, whereas Dot and Bubble definitely is a massive episode for the 15th Doctor.
That's true, yeah.
So I think it kind of gets away with it in that regard. But yeah, hopefully we won't have as many Doctor Light episodes in next season. But I've not minded them as much this year.
I mean, to bring things full circle, right at the start we were talking about how fast it seems the series has gone. Would you agree with that, or any thoughts on the length? Because obviously we had like 6 episodes, then the finale. So we were sort of saying like, well, first of all, if it was Flux, by this point it would be over already. And yeah, like if it was a longer season, like in the original Russell era, we'd be like halfway through by this point.
Yeah,
6 stories, then a 2-part finale.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? But yeah,
it is. Yeah, I'm not really sure still how we still don't know how late in the day that decision was to make the first 2 episodes a double bill rather than.
That's true. That kind of made it
and
feel shorter,
I think
didn't
that
it?
It did make it shorter, and it made it. But as well, people keep saying that the Devil's Claw was meant to be later. Some people even suggested, oh, it was Rogue and the Devil's Claw switch around.
Yeah,
but we know from production notes that the Devil's Claw
I'm fairly
was
sure.
later.
Yeah, the broadcast order was as it was always intended. I think. Yeah,
I do wonder though.
See.
Yeah, I do wonder though if part of the reason why it feels like this series has gone so quickly is because we've had that massive time jump in the Devil's Cord so quickly, and things are moving really fast in the season.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
It's been a very tight season as well. This episode was very tight as well. I think it's better to have a nice tight season of episodes where they're all hits, which I think the past few episodes absolutely have been, rather than have a longer season with a few duds in. So I've not minded it.
Cool. Well, I suppose on that note, let's bring this one to a close. So yeah, thank you, Josh, for joining me. Thank you, Miles and Pete. Obviously, they're not here anymore, but yeah, thanks to them for when they were here. And yeah, I suppose next time we see you, faithful viewers at home, the first part of the finale will have aired. We might know the identity of Susan Twist or Susan Triad or whatever. We might know the identity of Ruby's mum. We might know the identity of the villain for this finale. So lots of exciting reveals to come.
Yes.
But yes, until then, thanks for watching. Like the video, comment below your thoughts and predictions, and goodbye.
Goodbye.